Okay, so today we're going to tackle something that I think a lot of people struggle with, and that is SEO tools. And specifically, we're going to be comparing SEMrush and Ahrefs.
Right?
And, there's a lot of these kinds of tools out there, and it can be really confusing, I think, to know which one to choose and what what the pluses and minuses are of each. So we're going to try to extract from the materials that we've been looking at, what the key differences are, the strengths and weaknesses of these two popular SEO tools, SEMrush and Ahrefs, and hopefully give you a shortcut, so you don't have to read all the stuff that we read
Yeah, exactly.
to make a smart decision.
Yeah, and we can boil it down to what's going to benefit you, the listener, specifically.
Right.
Um,
And so, yeah, if you were to think about it, SEMrush is kind of like the Swiss Army knife of SEO tools. And even beyond SEO, it's really like a full marketing suite.
it is, yeah.
So it covers SEO, but it also covers things like PPC and content and social media. So it's really trying to be, a one-stop shop for all of your digital marketing needs.
Absolutely. And then on the other side of the coin, you have Ahrefs, which, while it has expanded its features over the years, it's really known for its backlink analysis and its focus on organic search data. And they have just a massive database of links that it uses to kind of inform all those metrics.
Right. And so I think it is fair to say that that both of these platforms are really quite powerful,
Hmm.
and you can do a lot of the same things on both platforms. So things like keyword research, backlink analysis, site audits, making sure that your site is healthy, competitor analysis, and they both do a really good job at those things. But as we were just saying, I think the emphasis is maybe a little different.
Yeah, definitely.
So SEMrush really takes, I think, more of a holistic approach.
For sure. It's a very broad tool.
Right. And it's really trying to, it's coming at it from the perspective of, digital marketing in general.
Yeah.
And Ahrefs is really, I think, even though it has expanded, I think it's fair to say that its core competency is still that backlink database
Absolutely. It's what they're known for sure.
and really, understanding the web of links across the internet.
Right.
So that's kind of the high level overview. But let's start digging into some specifics, and maybe the first place to start is with keyword research.
Yeah.
And the question, I guess, is how do these two platforms differ in terms of helping you find the right keywords for your website?
Yeah, for sure. And both of them will give you a lot of similar data points. Keyword difficulty, search volume. They both have suggestions for related keywords. SEMrush has a really cool tool called the Keyword Magic tool,
Yeah.
which is helpful for really digging deep into topics.
Uh,
But SEMrush also has PPC data, which is a big differentiator. So if
okay.
you're running Google ads alongside your SEO, then that can be a really big benefit of having those two data points kind of together.
Yeah, it's all in one place, so that's really helpful. So
Exactly.
if you are kind of wearing both hats, doing SEO and paid advertising,
Hmm.
having everything in one place is
Yeah, SEMrush would be great for that.
really good. And what about Ahrefs? So what does Ahrefs do well when it comes to keyword research?
Yeah, so Ahrefs is really good at finding those long tail keywords.
Mhm.
So those are the, more specific, longer keywords. And it also has really good SERP analysis. So you can see like the estimated click-through rate for organic listings,
Oh, wow.
which is really helpful.
That's really helpful.
Yeah, for prioritizing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you could have a keyword that gets a lot of searches,
Right.
but if no one's actually clicking on the organic results,
Exactly.
you're not going to get any traffic. So that's really helpful.
Right, and it's something that a lot of people don't think about. So Ahrefs does a good job of bringing that in.
Yeah, it's not just about search volume. It's about, are people actually clicking
Yes.
on these results? And Ahrefs also has really in-depth keyword difficulty scores.
Yeah, it gives you kind of a more granular look, I think, at that
Yeah.
than SEMrush does.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So if you're really focused on organic search and content creation, then Ahrefs really sounds like has a very powerful set of tools for that.
For sure.
Okay. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about backlink analysis, which is really where Ahrefs, kind of made its name and is known for. And so the question is it still the king of backlink data?
And based on the data that we looked at, I would say yes.
Okay.
They have a huge database. It's very accurate. They're constantly discovering and indexing new links, so you're getting a very fresh look at the backlink landscape. And they also have historical data, which I think is really interesting because you can see how a website has kind of grown or declined over time.
Yeah. And that can tell you a lot, I think, about the the authority of a website
Absolutely, yeah.
and how Google is viewing that website. So it sounds like a really useful tool.
For sure.
So what about SEMrush? So, SEMrush has been making moves to improve its backlink analysis capabilities. So how does it compare to Ahrefs now?
Yeah, SEMrush has definitely been putting a lot of effort into that, and I think it's, become quite a bit more robust over recent years.
Hmm.
You can definitely use it to, get a good understanding of your link profile and your competitor's link profile.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the overall consensus is that RF still has a slight edge just in terms of the size and the accuracy of their link index.
Right. So if backlinks are really, one of your top priorities, then it sounds like
Yeah, I would say stick with RFs for that.
RS is probably the way to go.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's move on to something that's maybe a little less glamorous, but still really important, and that is site audits and technical SEO.
right.
And so, the question is, which of these tools is better at helping you identify and fix those, often overlooked technical issues that can really hurt your rankings?
Yeah, so I think this is where things start to shift a little bit. SEMrush has very in-depth site audit features.
Okay.
It crawls your whole website. It looks for all kinds of technical problems. Broken links, duplicate content issues, mobile friendliness, page speed. It covers it all.
Wow.
And the reports that it generates are very user-friendly, I think.
Okay.
Very visually clear.
Okay.
So it's really easy to kind of see what the issues are and then prioritize which ones you want to work on.
Great. And what about Ahrefs? So does Ahrefs have a good site audit tool as well?
It does. It does.
Okay.
It covers a lot of the same things that SEMrush does, but I think the feedback that we've seen is that SEMrush's interface is just a little bit more intuitive
Mm-hmm.
and it's a little more visually appealing and easy to understand,
Okay.
especially if you're maybe not like a super technical SEO person.
Right. If you're just starting out.
Right.
SEMrush might be a little bit easier to wrap your head around.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so SEMrush for the win for, being visually driven and user-friendly when it comes to the technical audits.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about competitor analysis now. And so these tools can help you see, what your competitors are doing in the online world and figure out, how to maybe, one-up them.
Exactly.
So what are the differences between SEMrush and Ahrefs when it comes to competitor analysis?
Yeah, so I think SEMrush gives you more of a bird's eye view,
Right.
You can analyze your competitors' organic search performance,
Yeah.
their paid search performance. You can compare different website metrics side by side,
Okay.
and even look at their social media activity.
Wow. Okay, so it's really...
So you can really get a full picture of their digital marketing strategy.
Yeah, the whole picture.
Yeah,
That's really helpful.
it is.
So if you want to know what your competitors are doing across the board,
SEMrush is great for that.
SEMrush is the way to go. What about Ahrefs?
Yeah, Ahrefs tends to focus more specifically on SEO competitor analysis.
Okay.
So it's really good at helping you find keyword gaps.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the keywords that your competitors are ranking for,
Right.
but you're not.
Yeah.
And it's also really good at comparing backlink profiles. So you can see where your competitors are getting their links from.
Right, and try to replicate that.
Exactly.
Okay, so SEMrush, more of a holistic view.
Mm-hmm.
And Ahrefs is really drilling down into the SEO.
Yeah,
Okay, great. So let's talk about pricing, because this is always an important consideration.
absolutely.
So what can you expect to pay for these tools, and what kind of value do you get for your money?
So the data we saw showed that SEMrush's entry-level plan starts at about $129.95 a month,
Okay.
while Ahrefs's basic plan starts at $99 a month.
All right, so Ahrefs is a little cheaper
It is slightly, yeah,
to get started.
to get in the door. Although it is worth noting that Ahrefs no longer has a free trial,
Okay.
whereas SEMrush does have a limited free access option, so
Okay.
you can kind of get your feet wet with SEMrush.
You can play around with it, see if you like it,
Exactly.
before you commit to that monthly fee.
Right.
Okay, so a little bit of a difference in pricing there, but both are, within that same ballpark.
Yeah.
So let's kind of shift gears here and talk about recommendations, because, we've thrown a lot of information at you. We've talked about the different features and
Right.
the strengths and weaknesses. So now the question is, who should really be considering SEMrush and who should be considering Ahrefs?
Yeah.
And how can you make that decision for yourself?
Yeah. So based on everything that we looked at, if you need a really comprehensive, all-in-one digital marketing toolkit.
Right.
And you want to be able to manage your SEO, your PPC, your content, your social media all in one place.
Right.
Then SEMrush is probably the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a good choice if you're running paid ads alongside your SEO,
Right.
because it has all that data in one platform. So
Right. And we talked about how
it can be very helpful.
that can be really efficient.
Yeah.
And if you're the kind of person who likes to have all your ducks in a row,
Right.
and everything organized,
One login.
one login, one platform,
Mm-hmm.
SEMrush is probably a really good option.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about Ahrefs? When would you recommend Ahrefs?
So Ahrefs is a really good choice if you're primarily focused on SEO and content marketing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing a lot of link building, you really want to dig into your competitors' backlink profiles.
Right.
That's where Ahrefs really shines.
Because of the depth of the
Exactly.
backlink data.
That link database is really what sets them apart.
Okay.
And if you want to do some really deep keyword research,
Mm-hmm.
finding those long tail keywords and also looking at things like organic click-through rate,
Right.
then Ahrefs is a really good choice.
Okay, so really it comes down to, what are your priorities?
Yeah.
What are you trying to achieve?
Exactly.
And what are you focused on?
Yeah, if you want a broad overview of everything, SEMrush is a good choice.
Right.
But if you want to really go deep on SEO,
Ahrefs is the way to go.
Ahrefs is going to be better for you.
Yeah. Okay. So I think our final verdict here is that there is no one best tool. It really depends on your needs and your goals.
Exactly.
But to summarize, SEMrush is the way to go if you want to, be a jack of all trades in the digital marketing world.
For sure.
Have everything in one place.
Yeah.
And Ahrefs is the way to go if you really want to drill down and focus on SEO and backlinks and content.
Yeah, it's a more focused tool.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the main takeaway here is that, it's not about, one tool being better than the other.
Mm-hmm.
It's about choosing the right tool for your specific needs.
Absolutely.
So think about, what you're trying to achieve with your website and your business.
Yeah.
And then choose the tool that aligns with those goals.
For sure.
SEMrush and Ahrefs are both fantastic tools.
Absolutely.
And they can both help you achieve great results.
Yeah.
But you need to, figure out which one is the right fit for you.
Absolutely.
And so that kind of begs the question for you, the listener,
Right.
given what we've talked about and the challenges that you're facing and the goals that you're trying to reach.
Right.
Does the breadth of SEMrush appeal to you more?
Yeah.
Or does the depth of Ahrefs SEO tools appeal to you more?
Right, because those are really the two, different strengths of the platforms.
Yeah.
Is that SEMrush does a little bit of everything,
Mm-hmm.
but Ahrefs goes really deep on the SEO side.
Right. And so what do you need more?
Yeah.
What are the specific areas of your work that you think
Yeah.
would benefit most from, either having everything in one place or really going deep on the SEO side?
Yeah. Think about that.
All right. So hopefully this has been helpful and giving you some things to think about.
Yeah. Good luck out there.
Yeah. And we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.